Yeah, Carl, thank you. Back with Brad Gerstner of Altimeter. Let's talk regulation, Brad, because the Biden administration hasn't been so kind to big tech, Google, Apple, Amazon, Meta, either facing regulatory action or threat thereof. So how should we view that from here forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a Trump White House, there are a few things you should think about. Number one is, you know, a lot of Republicans have been very critical of big tech using their bundling powers to crowd out startups, right? So in Silicon Valley, we oftentimes talk about little tech, which is startups, and big tech, sometimes which are the big hyperscalers that can use the power of their platform to stifle some innovation and stifle startups. So I think that will continue to be scrutinized. But what I think we'll see a loosening up on you know, the ability to do M&A. You know, part of the beauty of creative destruction is that somebody can start a business and, you know, they don't all have to go public. They can sell their business to Google or to Amazon. And this is part of the creative process, right? It attracts risk capital. It attracts entrepreneurialism and risk taking. And the fact that we were blocking companies like Amazon from buying, you know, a robotic vacuum cleaner company. And I have to tell you, I was just talking with the CEO of one of those hyperscalers yesterday about a very small acquisition, a company that has $50 million in revenue. And he said it would never happen under the current administration. We don't even think about it. So here's the problem. All large companies in Silicon Valley, all large tech companies are basically have taken their entire M&A team and they put them on the shelf. Instead, what they're doing is buying back stock, issuing dividends, and buying more GPUs. I think we're going to be better served when we get back to a proper functioning, you know, mergers and acquisition in Silicon Valley that's always been part of the heartbeat of this place. And I think under a Republican administration, you're going to get that.
Lastly, where does your optimism sit tonight about your Invest America plan, essentially providing a 401k-like private account to every child born in this country, seeded with $1,000 by the U.S. government? You've been speaking with members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. Yeah. Where does that stand tonight?
Well, Scott, I honestly have never been more optimistic about it. You know, there's certainly members in the leadership of both parties that are really excited about this. We did some polling recently. About 80% of people in both parties, both Republicans and Democrats, are supportive of this. Listen, it's essential. If we're going to build a firewall in defense of free enterprise and capitalism, we have to align everybody with the upside of capitalism. We can't leave 70% of the people out of the game. That's part of the angst and populism that we see in America. So there's a very simple solution to this. Harness the power of compounding. Give everybody $1,000 at birth in an individual investment account that they own and let it compound like a 401k over time. So now we're going to be announcing many new members of the CEO Council. You know, I've already announced Mark Benioff, you know, folks like Michael Dell, Dara Khosrowshahi. They've said their companies will consider matching into the accounts of those kids. Parents can put in bar mitzvah money and birthday money, and all of these kids now in school will learn the power of compounding. It's a tragedy that Americans miss the first 25 years of their lives, a third of their life, when it comes to compounding. If we want to bring everybody into the game, get everybody on Team America, I think this is the best idea to do it. And the good news is there's already talk in the Senate of a unity announcement around this over the course of the next few weeks. So I'm quite optimistic that, you know, this is something that both, you know, that the Trump team would take seriously as a way to include more people into the system and as a way to really harness the power of private markets rather than the government. There is no government program associated with this. This is simply creating 3.7 million new stock market investors every year. So I'm quite positive on it, and stay tuned. I'll come on your show in a couple of weeks when we make a bigger announcement on it.